All right. I had to buy, I think, three of these before I found one that actually was in good condition, but love Stravinsky's The Firebird. I also got this classic and its prequel. If you don't know it, Sam Gendel, Sam Wilkes. But here, come with me. This place is an absolute mess, but getting better. Wanted to just show you guys kind of the studio, how I'm staging it today. I'm going to turn this off for your listening pleasure. All right, so there's a lot of work to be done, but here is the basic studio. The idea is for the back side of this studio to be a spot where, you could kind of duo rehearse, maybe even trio or quartet rehearse with some people out here, right? It's where all the guitars go. Back here, I filled that entire back row with guitar strings. So they go all the way back here. And here, this is my live toolbox. So anytime I've been at a show and someone's asked, hey, do you have an extra blank mental checklist, put that in here. So this is full of cables, capos, XLRs, quarter inches, you name it. We got some pedal board tape, ephemera, stuff like that. This is my New York pedal board, which is on the floor. I'll talk about that in a sec. Little Fishman amp for vocals and rehearsal. We got a bass amp here. That's the top of my modular synth. My wife's 70s Mustang bass, Guild acoustic, DM25. We got my Dan Electro 335. And then I've got this Benson Monarch here. And I want to find a way to get it off the floor. It's a very bass heavy amp, but I want to be kind to the neighbors, and I know that also, having an amp in a corner and on the floor there's gonna be a lot of bass coupling there. The idea over here, I still got to kind of clean some of this stuff off, but the idea over here is that, I'll get a different mic in here, a different mic in here, and I kind of want this corner to be like a little Dawes spot. One sec, Stravinsky is going off. I kind of want this to be like a little Dawes spot. So if I'm sitting here and I'm writing some songs and maybe I want to record some demos or even an EP or whatever, I can mic my vocals, I can mic my guitar or the amp, right? And then I can go Dawes into this Tascam 12. This is the interface that we used to make I Hate the Sun, which is an upcoming debut release from my post-ambient quartet. Great. There's a few quirks to it. That's why I got this out to kind of learn them. There's a few quirks to it, but it's a great piece of gear, and it makes writing and recording very, very easy. So excited about that. I've got my modular synth here too. Right now, modular synthesis is kind of a hobby, since a lot of my musical pursuits end up, having some sort of tethering to someone else, or they're, something with a lot of kind of artistic intention in them. It's nice to have something just for you. Although I do now have a ambient solo project called Adderall for the Birds, and the first track was made using that Instro R-Bar. There's a little cigar box amp there. And then I do have some books. This is On the Night Bus by Nick Turpin. Very Saul Leiter inspired. I don't know if you guys are photography people, but Saul Leiter did a lot of these photographs in New York, sort of through windows, using condensation and snow to, just to get some really beautiful, evocative images. God, I must have bought this a decade ago, but it's a beautiful book, On the Night Bus, Nick Turpin. I also have Colin Greenwood, the bass player from Radiohead. This one is a little bit more musically, obviously like musically related since it's Radiohead. But I find it very inspiring. I don't know why. I find it very inspiring to see images of bands at work, writing in the studio. My friends were laughing because they think that this photo of Ed O'Brien might be a photo of me. I do kind of see it. I mean, that telly, this telly. But, something I want to kind of work into this studio space, especially as I get the shelving going, is I want to have things that aren't just music related in here, because I find that creativity flourishes when it's multidisciplinary, which is like a really fancy way of just saying like the world is fascinating and there's so many interesting things in it, and as songwriters we can pull from anything. So I've got some stuff on the wall here. Got Standing in the Shadows of Motown, 7-inch MF Doom pin. There's a little cassette pin. Listen to Townes Van Zandt. And then one of my favorite photographers, Dorothy Lange. I have 3 images of hers. I'm actually still looking for the third one. It's packed somewhere. But she's very famous for the migrant mother photograph and a lot of other things. And she did a lot of photography that ended up, it was for government agencies, but it became, social commentary on what was going on at the time. This is a difficult image. This is a group of American school children in San Francisco during the roundups of Japanese internment. And if any image sums up the confusion, the heartbreak, the intersection of so many different threads, especially threads that are important to me in my life, I think it is this image. I've worked a lot with school children. I obviously was in the education system myself. Always felt kind of mixed emotions about doing the Pledge of Allegiance. And obviously history repeats itself, right? Children are being rounded up today. And there's such a tension in this image. Their faces. That one kid is looking directly at the camera. There's this pledging of allegiance to a country that has such wonderful promise, and there's so many things that make it special and unique and worth belonging to and worth fighting for. And that's in direct, it's clashing directly with things that the country's not supposed to stand for, and with kind of our worse sides and tendencies. So, I don't look at this image as like a political statement necessarily, but I do think it is something that speaks to the core tension in our country, or one of the core tensions in our country. And I think it's really beautiful. And that might seem like kind of heavy image to have in a studio, but art, I think, is most importantly about how it makes you feel. I know that this looks like a Bob Dylan quote, but it's actually something Ed O'Brien said in a Radiohead interview. But how does it feel, right? Like, that should kind of be a guiding light for artistic moves and statements. And I think anything that makes us think, that makes us question, that adds complexity to our thought process is good for the artistic process. So that's why I have it there. This is a little drawing of a heart. But yeah, so that's going to be kind of the idea behind this station here. Very easy for a bass player and a guitar player to rehearse. Moving over to here, do not worry, that is not a real clone. Moving over to here, we've got some stuff that's going to be a little closer to the recording desk. My wife's Princeton. From what I know, it's a normal Princeton. It just seems to have some colored Tolex. Also, big quality of life upgrade. I got some tape here. Some colored tape. I think it's gaffer's tape. I'm not entirely sure. But I've been using it to mark certain things, like, on the back of power cables, the yellow one. There's a yellow one down there. You can see pretty clearly. Just to kind of make it easier for really quick management of stuff. But This right here is also so that I don't have to look to try to find the on button. I put that little blue light in there, but wonderful sounding Princeton. Princeton's all you really need. We got a little volume pedal down here, so you can plug in the Wurlitzer if you want, or just change to a guitar. This is my wife's Wurlitzer. It's a beautiful sounding instrument. I was initially a Rhodes guy, but Wurlitzer eventually spoke to me. See if we can compete with that Stravinsky in the kitchen. So this thing's great. And then there's a little effects board here for it that I want to mess with. Auto swell, fuzz, kind of like VHS and cassette filters, a delay, and then a looper. So I think that'll be kind of fun. Again, in the spirit of having things that are not just music here, I took a School of Song class with Brian Eno and like 5,000 other people online, and it was incredible. This is a book he was talking about that he wrote with a friend of his. Have not read it yet. Excited to dive into it. One of the songs on my next record with the band Delving is based off of a Christina Rivera Garza story. These are fantastic stories. And then more photography. Saul Leiter, he's my guy. Funny that I'm actually living in New York now. And then Gordon Parks, both of them are incredible. But you can see, I guess just on the cover, right? Here's kind of that On the Night Bus style that we saw earlier. So hoping to get maybe some more pictures in here, but the main thing is going to be soundproofing this mother. Like, it's pretty echoey. These things were in here when I got here, but they're not very thick, so I don't really know how much diffusing they're going to be doing. So the desk is going to be a long time work in progress. We're going to have a MIDI. Okay, it's getting a little distracting. Let's go turn that tape off. The Firebird is over. Impressive volume range, though, for this cassette player, I gotta say. Let's turn that off. Look at that. This entire doorway or hallway was like this high in packing material. So yeah, I'll have a MIDI keyboard here, which will be great. Hooked up to a Mellotron, which apparently I haven't turned in yet. This is just kind of a little module you can get. I'll have, the sustain pedal down here. In this, I'm going to just be putting objects that I often need when I'm at the desk. There's a DI back there. We got a lot of XLRs, some capos. For now, my 2 vintage Electro Harmonix pedals are in here. We got a bunch of power supplies at the bottom. My number 1, this Revelator Telly. But for going direct in, I've got this Benson amp. I just used this on a documentary, an upcoming documentary that me and my friend recorded out in Joshua Tree, and it was fantastic sound quality and really easy to use, so I love that. Every pick under the sun. This is a pair of chocolate sprinkles I found in my mother's house about a decade ago. And it's an incredible shaker. One moment, there's a package here. All right, and we're back in the room. Mike here. Yeah, we got that shaker. Some prepared guitar kind of things, spring, chopsticks, all that. Once I can find the plates that are supposed to go back here, there'll be a dual screen setup here. Eventually I'm going to get something that attaches under here to put the computer in. But for now I've got this, just goes under there. Standing desk. I have hopefully not lost the little thing that allows it to become a sitting desk. But I guess it's not the end of the world if I have to stand to make all my music. This is something I'm going to try to integrate into the system. It's an Electro Harmonix pedal that is both an interface a pedal that allows you to run software plugins in your guitar chain, which doesn't really have a use for me, but it's also a reamper. So I want to kind of have this set up so that anytime I want to put some pedals through, maybe put a filter on my vocal or put some delay on the drums or whatever it is, I can just use that. I don't have the money for a ton of audiophile quality outboard gear, but I do like freeing up space on the computer because this is not just a music computer, it's an everything computer. So as little plugins as I can manage is better because it just makes the process easier. Here's my Apogee Quartet, 4 inputs, and then ephemera, cables, cameras. We got some lights back here. I'm going to try to be setting up, some cameras so that I can quite easily make videos for all y'all here. I think this down here will be like I'll probably keep it empty, but then as I need it, put certain pedals on there. This board's not wired up or anything. This is just some stuff that I want to kind of get to know a little bit better. I mean, I've been using the Bell Epoch and the Plus pedal for a very long time, but the rest of these they haven't seen as much use. I did just use these 2 on a record, which was great. And this thing I just got for a really good deal, so I really want to check it out. But we've got some other extra pedals here. Greatest delay pedal of all time. And then in here for right now, I have some 500 series modules that I'm paying off that I bought from my friend. We've got utility pedals, little tuners, A/B switches, favorite switches, expression rampers, things like that. All of the mics are going to be in here, or are in here. Those are my in-ear monitors, more mics, big cable bag, all that kind of stuff. Gig bag for traveling. In here we have all our IEC cables. We've got some foam. This is the cover of an cover of a single I did called Alcatraz. Go check it out. It's by Delving. This is something my students made me. They mailed it to me from Oregon. I taught them for 6 years, maybe 5 years on Zoom. Great kids. And then, we got an interface, headphone splitter, some pedals, some MF Doom rings. And then here, don't have the room for it, but I'd really like to get these Von Gons integrated somehow into that reamper. I don't know if I can find a really small table here or how I want to do it with cables, but these are such wonderful high quality filter, delay, vibrato, and reverb, little looper in there as well. And I'd really like to start using them in my production in a quicker way. We got some power, Furman power conditioners down there, tripod, and then a guitar stand. So a lot of stuff in here, many, many, many years of trying stuff, buying stuff, selling stuff, keeping stuff. And then I got my New York board here. As much as possible, I'm just going to try to use this. And I'll talk about it real briefly here. So passive volume pedal made by a company who I believe the company is called A3 Custom Volume. But I really like this because there's some resistance to the throw. And also, very intelligently, it's sloped so that even when it's all the way back, your foot isn't like hitting the floor in some uncomfortable way. I've used other miniature volume pedals and that's been a problem. I don't care about the tone loss from using a passive volume pedal. It's easy to use. I don't have to plug it in. That's a win in my book. Speaking of not caring about tone loss, this is a new acquisition. I've been curious about it. I've been very against it. I am lifelong friends with someone who is friends with this guy and knows this dude. And, I can have strong opinions sometimes, but I do like learning and challenging those. So I decided to try this out. I used it on the session we did last week for Jeremy James Meyer. It is a line driver with EQ dip switches that also has an effects loop. What that means is it's going to make sure that the signal coming from your pickups is not being impeded in any way as it, goes through a passive volume pedal, I guess, or I don't know, because I guess this is first and this is second. But basically, it makes your guitar sound less muffled, which I am learning is actually a lot more useful out here in New York than I anticipated it would be. One thing I'm disappointed to see is the electricity in this apartment, which this is something I'm used to living in apartments, is noisy as heck. I cannot use the bridge or the neck pickup on any of my guitars. I have to use the middle pickup, otherwise I get insane noise. Now that means I might want to cut bass or add treble to get from, the dual pickup sound to something closer to one or the other. And I found that these switches to accentuate the lows, to accentuate the highs, and to accentuate the airband, which is more of an audio file term, or like an audio engineer term, but just think like really high harmonics like stuff. These are actually very, very useful and helpful. I've got the Thorpe J. When I got the Origin Effects Deluxe 55, I sold pretty much every drive pedal I owned because that was just kind of the sound I've always been looking for. It's a tweed amp sound, think Neil Young. When I checked this one out, I got some tape on here because the lights are a little bright for my liking. But when I tried this out, I was like, oh, cool. It sounds pretty much exactly the same. But the other one, the one I have, the Origin one, is smaller. Now, the reason that I ended up also getting this one is because for a long time I owned two Origin Effects ones, because there's one on my other, board next to the Jaguar. That's a Metro 20. So a little bit bigger than this, but one lived on there permanently. The other I kind of carried around. This has two things that I think differentiate it. One is its channel switching. Now, I realized my error in that there's a volume for one channel and a volume for the other, but there's only one master output. I was pleased to find, and maybe this is just a hallucination, auditory hallucination, of perceived loudness, but I was pleased to find that when I switch from the normal channel to the bright channel, there does seem to be a significant volume boost, which is exactly what I wanted this to be for live purposes. I can have kind of a normal, chewy sound. If I dig in, it's distorted. If I play normal, it's fine, and then hit that for the boost. So that is the first thing that I think is different from the Origin Effects one, where you have to flick a switch, bend down. The other is this supply knob is fantastic. When you have it all the way up, it just responds really quick, but as you dial it back, there's a little bit more sag. I think for anyone who has played tube amplifiers or who messes around with like the Strymon Deco or has something that's always on, we grow to really like, not necessarily the sound of distortion or tubes, but the feeling that's sort of, it's not latency, but there's this soupiness. There's just something in the feel of playing a great distortion pedal or a great tube amp that's distorting that this replicates. And I wish every distortion pedal, overdrive pedal, fuzz pedal had one of these. It's great. Right here, it'll probably kind of switch out. I'll put the Echo Park here. Right now I got to find my diamond memory lane. In a true minimalist situation, I will just bring that memory man and then maybe a boost or whatever else I need. But the memory lane is the second best memory man pedal that I have used. The first best, ironically, is this Catlin Bred one right here, the Belly Pock Deluxe. Mode 2 and 3 are memory man modes, and they are dead ringers for the memory man sound. So I'll use that for slapback and longer delays, and then the Eternal Flint. So reverb, tremolo, and then I've also got a favorite switch for going to kind of more ambient sounds. So really small, that'll fit on a subway quite nicely. And yeah, that's kind of the rig there. But yeah, I'm gonna have to really figure out what to do about the electricity in here. I'm gonna get some shelving, like a cork board, to kind of hang some cables and stuff. But really the next thing is going to be getting the sound treatment in this spot. That is a piece of art by the incredibly talented Michaela Prohove. That is the second Delving EP, Reconnecting with Something Fragile. Go listen to it. But yeah, so that's kind of the idea behind the studio. By no means is this, a small amount of stuff, but I think it's minimalist in the sense that there's nothing more than what I need. There's bass amps, guitar amps, modular synth, DAW-less recording, eventually DAW recording, a MIDI controller, Wurlitzer. These are all things I use and have used, things my wife uses. So I am stoked to finally, after I don't even know how many years, have a room that's actually dedicated to that. Hopefully, with the electricity situation, I will be able to use it. If not, we're going to do a lot of direct-in recording with that Benson amp. But just wanted to show you guys that. A lot of the videos right now are kind of life updates and just sort of behind-the-scenes stuff. Once I get the cameras set up, the lighting and all that, rig the desk up, cable management, all that, which will probably take place over the next 2 months. We have a bit of traveling coming up, but then I'll be able to kind of get some more fully produced things. I know I promised a couple of you guys some videos on certain topics, so we will be getting to those. But I appreciate everyone's patience. This move to New York came out of nowhere. We were not expecting it. The whole thing was pulled off in about 3 weeks. It has put a dent in a few things. The last Delving record is kind of on hold until I get some employment out here in New York. But we're doing what we can with what we have, and we are grateful to have a lot and be surrounded by wonderful people. So the show last week went great. The recording went great. I'll probably talk about that a bit more. Time to get rid of all this styrofoam. Peace.